digest. From lane to the new shining ground, echo chants where the legends are found. Heroes carved in the heart of time, we march on through grit and grime. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Echoes of King and Greaves in the air. Every goal, the sound declares. Heartbeats pound like a drummer's song, marching forward, fierce and strong. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire.
I can't see anything at the moment because my TV went blank anyway. Right. Hello. Well, Spurs fans, what on earth was that? A new Premier League season has barely started and Tottenham have already given us a performance to forget. Brentford 3, Tottenham 0, 3 goals conceded, no reply, and absolutely nowhere good enough from Spurs. We came into this game talking about a fresh start, a new season, what Roberto De Zerbi could bring to Tottenham. Instead, we got 90 minutes of frustration, mistakes, and serious reality check. Brentford wanted it more. Brentford fought harder, and Brentford fully deserved the 3 points. For Tottenham, there are going to be some big questions after this one. Where was the intensity? Where was the creativity? Where was the response when we went behind? Because you can lose games of football, but losing 3-0 in the opening Premier League game and going down without a fight, well, that's sort of not acceptable. So tonight we're breaking it all down. Well, not tonight, this is only instant reaction. But on Monday, we will break it all down with the tactics, the players, the Zerbi's decisions, and just how worried Spurs fans should be after that performance. It's 3-0 Brentford. The Premier League is back. Unfortunately, so is the pain of being a Spurs fan. And this is THFC TILL We Die. And look, just put in a few chats there. Big up to Adam68. He said, what the hell was that? Absolutely. Shocking performance. Big up, Kev Slav. How are you doing, Kev? It's a shocking performance, mate. While I was rooting for Brentford because of the Irish connection, I always like to see Spurs do well. A bit worrying for the season ahead. It is very worrying. Big up, Steve Stateside Footy says, we are so back. I do hope Roberto De Zerbi learned the lessons, but that there is a massive drop-off in quality between Bergville and Fernandes. Nothing against Bergville, but he had himself a howler today, did it? Are you around, Steve, for 5-10 minutes? I'll send you a link if you want to pop on and give you your thoughts. So I won't be on for long, Steve, but just 5-10 minutes. Where are you in my WhatsApp group? There we go. If you want to pop on, more welcome. The link has been sent to you. And yeah, today has not been the day we all thought it'd be. Today is not the day that we all hope for. It's a case of nobody expected Tottenham to come in here and play well today and gel and everything. It's going to take time. Yes, the performance wasn't good. Yes, but I thought as the second half went on, I thought we more got ourselves into the game as the substitutions happened. But if you look at the first goal, we were carved open like somebody with a Swiss Army knife. And the problem is as well, and I noticed it in the first half, that if you look at the two wingers in Tell and in Mikey Moore, and this is not bashing Mikey Moore. This is just how I saw the game. I felt the wingers didn't do enough to come back, and I felt we were very sort of lopsided on one side, and Brentford very quickly worked out. I tell you what, Moore's not coming back and helping Archie Gray. Then Tonali had to go over to the right-hand side and help Archie Gray out. That left gaps in our midfield, and it was like Keith Andrews saying, guys, there's the Red Sea's been open, go for it. And it's just shambolic, but it's only one game, Steve. It's not like the season's ended. It's the start of the season. We've had bad starts before, and we've always come back. But do you think after the last two seasons, and we came into this game so expected a better performance, that it's a bit of a reality check for us today?
Yeah, and I think you hit it right on the head. I don't think Spurs were necessarily prepared for the level of intensity that Brentford came out of the gates with, and I think we were caught flat-footed. But I also think coming in, and I think Kuba here laid it out perfectly. It's like I don't think that it was going to take one transfer window in order to fix the problems, because again, when you finish in back-to-back 17th place finishes, it just lets you know that it's a quality issue. And don't get me wrong, I mean, the squad is certainly improved, but that being said, I think you and I were both coming into this one thinking like, it's nice that we actually have a new midfield, and our defense is has some good cover, but where are these goals going to be coming from? And when I saw the starting 11 today, I was like, if we're not dialed in from the minute go, it's going to be this has a potential to be a sloppy game. And sure enough, that's exactly what we saw within the first 10 minutes. I mean, Brentford had already scored. Our defense was not marking. They weren't being aggressive. You were looking at 50-50 balls. Spurs were not even engaged with those. And Brentford were able to move the ball with ease. I was kind of wondering where our pressing was. Why weren't we trying to make things a little bit more difficult? And sure enough, it just is what it is. But that being said, I think there is some residual hangovers from back-to-back 17th place finishes. And if anybody was assuming that we were going to hit the ground running, and of course, it's one thing to play preseason games, but it's another thing to get into the pressure cooker and the intensity of the Premier League. But I will say there were some nice things that happened today, especially in the second half. But again, this is going to be something that it's going to take time. And I'm not gonna sit here and act like the sky is falling, because I certainly don't think it is. I would probably assume in the next anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, we're going to see what our best 11 is actually going to look like. And from there, when there's chemistry and continuity, I think this team is going to kick on.
I do that as well. I agree with that. Look, nobody can write a season off after one game. I mean, yes, how disappointed it was. That first half performance was as bad as I've seen anything under De Zerbi so far. But I do feel there were circumstances to that. I do feel that the midfield fell apart very quickly. I do feel Archie Gray was left out a little bit on his own, and Mikey Moore wasn't coming back doing his defensive duties. We did see in the first half, as it came out, Tell did start coming back on the left-hand side, started helping out Robinson as well. And then Brentford very quickly worked out, well, hang on a minute, if we can't go down the right, we're definitely going to go down the left. Then, as I said, Tonali came over there. That left the midfield open. And then you didn't have a Fernandez to sort of say, well, okay, Tonali, you go and do that. I'm going to sit here as the six. We did, and as much as I rate Birdville, I thought he was poor today. I have to say, it looked. I called it in one word that first half: disconnected. That's how I thought it was. And look, as much as I praise Kingsley, and as much I think Kingsley is a good goalkeeper, I think he was up fault for 2 of the 3 goals. I must admit, I thought the second one he was, to be fair, because he could have parried it to his right, and then that was going to Sensini, and he could have either passed it back to him or kicked it out for a corner. But he parried it to the left, and there was nobody there. There was no Spurs player there, and there was a Brentford player. All he's got to do is hit it into a net.
And that's where I I can understand what you're saying, right? But when I'm looking at a
Yeah.
goalkeeper and I'm looking at his positioning, he was in the right spot to make those saves. As a matter of fact, I think it was that second goal where he actually had to stretch. And you're absolutely right. It goes right down to it goes. I think it was not Kabore, but Coyote. Right. And he's right there for a tap in. But that being said, I'm also looking at defenders as well, too. That first goal, the interesting thing about that first goal that they scored, it was a well worked ball down the right side into the box. And the ball gets played off, and Archie Gray completely just disconnects from his mark, right? Like Keane Lewis Potter scoring that first goal, it didn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered where, Kinski was. Keane Lewis Potter was literally unmarked 6 yards out, and he had a free tap in for a goal. That second, the second and third goals coming off of set pieces, the biggest issue is especially that second one. And again, it was Jan Paul Van Hecke not marking his player. They go two up, and then that third goal right at the start of the second half, it was like, I understand exactly what you're saying, and maybe there's some truth to that. But that being said, it's like when that ball goes down, there should be a player right there ready to clear it away, and it was just there was just nobody there. But getting back to Lucas Bergvall, and I'm not being flippant about it, right? I think you know how much I like Lucas Bergvall, and I think there's going to be a high upside. But that being said, he had no business starting today. And if this is a situation where you're wondering whether or not Mateus Fernandes can go 60 minutes, even if you want to pull him off at 55, 60 minutes and go with Bergvall at that stage, okay, that's fine. But the reality is we saw how better Sandro Tonali looked like in the second half, because the problem with Bergvall is, and the thing within the first 10 minutes, he has a giveaway. And we were nearly punished for it. But he had 3 giveaways in that first half, 2 of which led to direct goals. And it was an absolute howler of a performance. And again, I think it comes back to the level. Maybe we're seeing that he needs to take a step back, and De Zerbi has to drip feed him into this team. But the reality is he's just like, I don't know if he's at the level where he can consistently compete. But I will say that, when Mateus Fernandes came on in the second half, we actually saw what that midfield pairing is going to look like moving forward. And Sandro Tonali played better. He didn't have to cover for an extra midfielder. And me personally, that's the thing. As bad as this game was, I think there were things that you can take away, and you can understand what Roberto De Zerbi is trying to do moving forward.
I think you're right. There is positives to be taken out of it. And look, I'm not getting carried away, Steve, with one game gone, one defeat. How many times have Tottenham started a season badly? How many times have we lost on the opening day? And we always turn up and expect Spurs to win every game. And if it doesn't win, then all the knives come out. I mean, I had people in my chat and my watch along, De Zerbi out after one game. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
I do think, and I think it has to be questioned, asked, Steve, that there is money being spent. We know there's going to be more money going to be spent. It was rarely glaring and obvious our front three wasn't good enough today. And it doesn't matter how many times we attacked. There was nowhere either Richarlison, Solanke, Mikey Moore had a couple of good chances to score.
Yeah,
and
he
I was thinking to myself, and I was thinking, if that was a Savinho, if that was a Gakpo, if that was an Omar, then balls would be in the back of the net. And I'm not slagging off Mikey Moore. I'm really not slagging him off. But I just feel if you had a better front three, I think today's game, we may have lost, but we may have scored a few goals and made it a bit tighter or made it a little bit more interesting. Big up to Lucy. She's saying what's the most important thing is we looked unfit. There was a little bit of that, Steve, to be fair. I thought some of the players gassing out a little bit. Now, is that because we played too many preseason games? We know the likes of Maddison came on, looked better. Fernandes came on, looked better. And I just felt, again, we just looked disconnected. And you could see how frustrated De Zerbi was. I really hope he gets into them players at full time, calls them in for early training tomorrow and say to them, look, this is unacceptable. Because you got the board looking down on De Zerbi and thinking, hang on a minute. We've spent so many hundreds of millions on you. We've got more players coming in. I think he's under more pressure than a lot of fans think he is because of the money we've spent. Or do you think the board have learnt lessons and they say, look, we're going to give you time? Because I think you need 10 games at the start of the season to figure out which way you're going. You look at United today; they lost 2-0 to Hull. Do you know?
Right.
Does that make them a bad team overnight? No, it doesn't.
No,
Us
no.
losing today, does that make us a bad team? Brentford are a good side. Nearly got into Europe. So, look,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I think we've got to take the positive, but can you understand the negatives that are coming out by some fans about this
Yeah,
season?
but again, this happens every single season, right?
It
Losses
does.
bring out the worst in fans, right? And I think
Yeah.
I think the reality is that yeah, you see the dollar figures going around, and
Mm.
obviously, Spurs fans are like, finally, we're actually spending money comparative to our counterparts. But the reality is we still haven't fixed this attack, and
No.
that was the big linchpin in this entire thing, was making sure that we just get a little bit better in the attack. And who knows, maybe we will end up with Omar Mamouche, maybe we will end up with Gakpo, and now all of a sudden your attacking three is night and day better than what we had today.
Yeah.
I do want to say that as much as I was disappointed that Mikey Moore couldn't convert, but I will say that he had two chances that he put at Kelleher's feet, and I'm sure he'd like to have those back. The third one, he actually made Kelleher work a little bit, but it was nice to see
Yeah.
Spurs not only getting forward but looking a little dangerous, and you can tell
Yeah,
that
I
there's a
agree.
player in Mikey Moore.
Yeah.
What I will say is the reason why I don't think De Zerbi is going to be under pressure because of the money is because, number one, today specifically, we didn't have Pedro Porro, we didn't have Mickey Van de Ven in that back line, we didn't start Mateus Fernandez, we didn't start James Madison, and we were starting a front three with Matisse Tell, who's 20, Mikey Moore is 17 years old, and Richarlison, who you like when you need him to drop, he just is not that physical specimen, right? So from that standpoint, I like coming into this match, I already knew that it was going to be a razor's thin edge when it came to making sure that you had zero mistakes. Like, they couldn't make mistakes today, and of course they did. But that being said, it's like I agree. You need 10 games. Like, if this is after 2 months and Roberto De Zerbi hasn't nailed down his best 11, and we're still having some of these type of matches where we're making mistakes, at that point, yeah, I would probably have the conversation about De Zerbi being under pressure. But that's the thing, the sky isn't falling. And whether that's going to be against Charlton Athletic, whether that's next week against Newcastle, I would probably assume we're going to get closer to what that looks like. We should have, next week specifically, we will have Savino in the attack. We might even have Marmouche. And if we're able to get Cody Gakpo, that's even better, right? But that being said, it's going to take a little time. And of course, we still need to get Mohamed Kudus and Decky back into the fold as well, too. And, that's the thing. It's like, I understand Spurs fans don't want to hear this, but if you were expecting things to change in this first window, you had your expectations set a little too high. But that being said, by the time we get to October, okay, not only will we have kicked on, but this team is going to look a lot better. And it's going to look like exactly what a Roberto De Zerbi attack looks like. And I think this team is going to look night and day better. And for the Premier League, the Premier League sycophant there in the chat that's saying RDZ out, and RDZ is toilet. It's like, okay, dude, listen, you need to put down the beer, and I think you need to take a deep breath and just assess the starting 11 today versus what Brentford was playing, and then just understand that within the next 2 weeks, we're going to see what this real 11 looks like. And let me ask, I do want to ask you this one question real quick. Was it today a sign for you that Dominic Solanke should be playing all the time until we actually get Marmouche through the door?
Do you know what? I'm not Solanke's biggest fan, and you know that. The answer to that is yes, because Richie spent more time on his arse than he did actually doing anything. I thought when Solanke came on, there was a bit more bite up front a little bit, and I'm not Solanke's biggest fan. Don't get me wrong. I think he should go as well. I understand fans that's saying, I understand what a Premier League says about RDZ out. I get it, because every fan has their own expectations, how they want to see the start. And I get after the window we have, the expectations were up here. And I get it. But you are right. We don't know what's going to happen in 2 months' time. And with players coming back and the way that we're going to buy more players, it may take a season for everything to bed in. This may be a season of, okay, we're going to qualify for the Conference League and have a good run in the cup. I think as much as I think like we're going to qualify for the Champions League, after today's performance, I'm going to downgrade my expectations to go for the Conference League. But you, but you don't know. It's only one game, and we have to see after 10 or 12 games where we sit. And I do agree with you that in the next 6 weeks, we will see a totally different side. And once we get that first win under our belt, the first way of playing well, that snowballs into motivation and momentum. And it's so vital that we turn up on Wednesday against Charlton and put in a good home performance before that Newcastle game next Saturday. Well, Steve, look, we are going to wrap it up. This is always a short show, this instant reaction. Just very quickly, last question for me. What's your expectation for Charlton on Wednesday?
That's a very good question. My expectation is, for the new players that are coming in, the Omar Mamouches and the Savinios, I would like to see them get some time. I also think this is potentially a good opportunity to get your first choice midfield three at least in for a half, right? So your Sandro Tonali, your Mateus Fernandez, and your James Maddison, because one of the things that I want to see is at least to build some chemistry, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be for an entire 90. It could be your first half, and I would be perfectly fine with that. I would also start Solanke as well too. I think that would be a wise choice, just to also for him to get used to what is going to happen with this midfield three. And so from that standpoint, if we can get Van de Ven and Porro back into the fold as well too, I wouldn't mind seeing that. But for the most part, that would be my expectation, is to make sure that your first choice midfield three gets at least a half, so they can work on their chemistry and they can work out some of their bugs, so they just get used to each other. But I agree with you. I think the performance has to be. It has to be an overwhelming success. We can't afford to over tinker and over complicate things, because this also could be a bogey. A banana skin bogey type of situation where we go out early instead of progressing. So from that standpoint, I would like to see De Zerbi go big in this one, and at least let the fans get that victory under their belt after this performance. So that would be my expectation.
To be fair, it could be a lot worse off. We could be West Ham losing at home to Charlton today. To be fair, I mean, let's be honest. We're in the Premier League.
Or United, losing the whole city to open up the campaign.
Yeah, so. But the problem is, I had this from a United fan. I said earlier in the week that United are falling apart, and he came in. He said we're both falling apart, so we're keeping each other company at the bottom of the league, but not for long. Steve, thank you so much. Where can people find you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm available on multiple platforms here on YouTube at Stateside Footy, and of course, we just had a pretty fun live stream right there. And then, of course, on TikTok and also on X at Stateside Footy. So, there's multiple avenues where you can find me, and I just love talking ball. So, if you guys want to engage, I'm more than willing not only to engage you on social media, but if you also want to come and have a debate on the show, I would love to have that as well too. So, I'm where you need me to be. I'm everywhere.
Yeah. Well, listen, Do Good Over is a great channel, and he does some great MLS stuff as well. I
will say that you and I are going tomorrow on another episode of It's Football, Not Soccer.
I'm looking forward to that.
I am as well too, and I figured we were going to maybe continue this conversation tomorrow. But that being said,
I think so.
I think we should let everybody know that tomorrow, the conversation is going to be about the exorbitant transfer fees for, I guess you can say, not high-level players that we've seen in the Premier League. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about Newcastle tomorrow, correct?
We are. And I think also with the way that Savinio, for how much we're paying for him, and for the way the deal's been structured, and Premier League to Premier League, transfers are being inflated massively.
Yeah.
And we're also going to talk about the 85-75% loophole that's within the SCR, and also a bit about Gabby from TalkSport whinging again about Tottenham. Do you know what? Shut up, Gabby. You're only jealous. You weren't good as a player, and you're not good as a pundit. So, yeah, go and take Rory Jennings with you, and go down the dole queue.
My
But
Yeah, it's funny when I hear these pundits, right? Like I got
Yeah.
a laugh. I got a laugh from Troy Deeney earlier this week as well
Yeah,
too.
I
And
did.
so it's funny. All right, but thank
Well,
you,
listen,
Dermot. This was this
no,
little appearance was this was wonderful. I wasn't expecting to come on today, and I'm glad you asked. And
yeah. Well, look, we might do this for every when you're around. We'll do this for every instant reaction. We'll get you on, and we'll do that during the season. But guys, that is your instant reaction show. Hit the like and subscribe on Steve's channel. Hit the like and subscribe on here. We're nearly at 3K. Let's get there before the end of the window. But we are back tomorrow at 12 with the all important player ratings. Oh boy, I'm going to have fun with that. And then we're back Monday at 8 with me, Billy, and James. Well, maybe at 10 because I know there's a game at 8 for post-match debrief. But anyway, join me and Steve tomorrow at 5 for Football, Not Soccer podcast on that bombshell. Thank you all for watching. Come on, you Spurs. In the mighty De Zerbi, we trust.